Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Ojo, and I am a board member at the YWCA. And I want to talk to you today during story time about a very important core mission here at the YWCA. And that is our mission to eradicate racism and systemic discrimination in our society. So it's a very important mission to us. And that's why I want to talk to you because it's very important that you, our young people, are going to inherit the earth. And then once you inherit the earth, you will be responsible for making all types of decisions. And those decisions oftentimes are based on what we are taught in our society, what we see other people talk about. And they are also made based on what people look like. And those are the things that we're wanting to eliminate. We want a society where you are not judged for better or for worse by the color of your skin. You're not judged by your abilities or a disability that you have. You're not judged if you're a woman or a man, but rather you are judged by your ability to perform, however way you're able to do that, or the content of your character. Do you embrace those values that are strong, that promotes honesty, that promotes integrity, that promotes inclusion? So, I am going to talk to you about a very serious subject that many adults have problems with. But I know you, as children that's going to inherit the earth and make this a better society, we're going to talk about race. We're going to talk about how to live in a society where you are able to judge people by who they are, by the content of their character, and not by the color of their skin. So I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to share a book with you that's going to talk to you about 9 steps on how to do that. And this is the book that I am sharing with you. So it is called Anti-Racist Baby. And it is written by Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. So he is very famous and he's written many adult books on relationships that we have as adults and how to teach our children as well. So this is the first thing I want you to understand is that no one is born a racist. We're not. And racism is not something that comes about by being a member or of an extreme group. It can come about the minute that you decide to treat someone differently because they have a different color skin. And it doesn't mean that you're not oftentimes not treating them badly. You may even treat them better because they have a different color skin. If you have a friend that you treat a little better because their skin is very much like yours, then that means that you're treating someone bad that doesn't have a skin color that looks like yours. So let's open this book and see what Dr. Ibram X. Kendi has to say about how to be an anti-racist baby. And that is to take racism out of everything that we're doing every day. So the first thing you want to understand is that we're not born this way, right? We're definitely not born that way. This comes about through environmental things such as what we may be taught, unfortunately, in our family, in our society, by other friends and their family. And then people, the media, so many things that influence how we belong in our society. You all are big enough, you will understand that you can change the world. So let's look at this. So how to be an anti-racist. Here we have here, anti-racist baby is bred. It's not born. What that means is that we are taught these things. We're not bred this. We weren't born racist. We weren't born to make decisions on someone's color of their skin. We learned that through other people. And sometimes they may not be telling us exactly all that we need to know. So here we see a baby who's going through the process of working with his father to be equal and to be treated just like everyone else. So an anti-racist baby is raised to make society transform. And that's what I talk to you about how do you raise society and how do you transform them. And transform means change it for the better, where it works for all of us. So here we are talking about race. It's that very thing that a lot of adults try to not talk about. But babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. Remember, we are going for anti-racist because we want to enjoy all those relationships with people, no matter the color of their skin. The richness and the content of the differences of our people that we come in contact with makes us better because we experience more about other cultures and other people. So babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. What that means is it's either you are going to be one that doesn't promote racism and does not treat people differently because of race, or you're going to be a person that says, no, I'm going to treat you the same because you are a human being and we're going to treat you the same, okay? Or equal. And so what they're telling us to do and what Dr. Ibram X. Kendi is doing is he's telling us we should look at these 9 steps on how to promote being an anti-racist. You all are big enough. Challenge yourself. You can do this. You really can. This is what we're going to do to take these 9 steps to make equity a reality. This is going to be your life, how you're going to move forward. So number 1, here we go. All those beautiful people. Number 1, you're going to do what many people want to do and think they're doing every day, but they're not. Open your eyes to all skin colors. What that means is we don't want you to pretend that everybody is all the same because they're not. Open your eyes and experience the fact that there are so many people that share so many experiences because of their skin color, and you want to know who they are. So an anti-racist baby learns all the colors. They learn about people because they have conversations with people, and not because the race is true. If you claim to be colorblind, which we don't, because everyone is not the same. Remember, we all have different experiences. We have different cultures based on our race. But if you claim to be colorblind, we want to take that out of our vocabulary. We want you to know that all different types of people exist, okay? Because if you're colorblind, you deny what's right in front of you. And that is people who experience a beautiful life and an experience that they could share with you because they have different cultures or they have different colored skins. It's okay. Acknowledge them. That's the big word to learn, acknowledge. Second thing is, number 2, use your words to talk about race. No one will see racism if we only stay silent. If we don't name racism, it won't stop being so violent. So I want to explain this a little bit to you about why it's important. Because as adults, we fail at this sometimes. We will talk about anything because we have been taught to not bring race up. We never want to offend anyone. But guess what? You may want to be acknowledged because you have a different race. It doesn't say anything bad about you. But if I'm talking to someone and maybe they're treating me just a little differently, because I'm a different race or I'm treating someone differently. Let's talk about those differences and how we can make a change and do that. But the first thing is we can't deny it. We can't deny that we're looking at someone of a different race. And we have to talk about it. We have to say, look, I have a concern. I don't want to be a racist. I want to be an anti racist. But for me to be an anti racist, I need to know more about you, and you need to know more about me. So please talk about it. Don't be silent. It's okay. Don't worry about offending anyone. You won't do that. This is important. Learn how to talk about racism. And it's important. That's how we grow. That's how you grow. And that's how you learn. And then that's how you come in contact and get to know people. And then you can get past those things like race and talk about the things that you have most in common, like baseball, like ballet, like hockey, all of those things that you like to do, playing in the yard, going swimming, going to the forest, whatever you like to do, camping, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. These are how you get to know people and get to understand and learn and make friends. You want to be a friend of the world. That's number 2. Number 3, point as policies as the problems, not people. Okay, so this may be a little complicated to talk about. So I'm going to talk to you about this, okay? Because adults kind of understand this, but guess what? Adults don't even really understand this. Some people get more while others get less because policies don't always grant equal access. Okay, so let me just share this a little bit with you. Okay, so when we talk about racism and systemic discrimination, and what we do at the YWCA, and what we do is support eliminating racism and eradicating systemic discrimination. Adults point to some big mistakes that was made by other adults years and years ago. And they are practices and laws that were put in place to prevent people, all people, from enjoying society. Okay? So, what we do is that we honor our past, but we also honor those mistakes that we made when we did not treat people equally and we made policies that point to that. Now, many of those policies have gone away in our society. Most of them have gone away. But it's still a few that we're still working really hard to eliminate so that all people can enjoy this beautiful world that we live in and this American society, and that we can enjoy it with equity. We still have a lot of work to do. We're still trying to work our best way through it. But with policies, what we do is we tend to do something called normalizing it. We assume that a policy is the absolute correct way to do things. And then over time, what we realize is that those policies don't include everyone. And I'm going to give you an example. Years ago, long time ago, imagine a girl could not play soccer. A girl could not play on the soccer team with the boys. They didn't have girl programs where they had girl basketball teams, or girl football teams, girl soccer teams, girl softball teams. Girl sports were eliminated. There were sports at one time where girls didn't participate at all in school. And then there was a law that came into effect called Title IX that allowed women and girls to participate in high school and collegiate sports on the same level as men. And what that meant was, on the same level as boys and men. And what that meant is that girls who were really good at soccer, were really good at basketball, could participate in programs now that were equally made so that they can participate on the same level as men. Could you imagine going to school today and not being able to play a sport because you were a girl? Or a boy being on a team and not seeing other girls on that same team. Could you imagine that? that's because that law needed to change, and it did. So that's an example of a policy that needed to change. Moving right along. Number 4, shout. There's nothing wrong with the people. Okay? So look at all the people here. They represent a diversity of people. We have Muslim people. By the way, we're in the midst of Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak for our Muslim people, a very important religious activity that is going on, a religious process that is going on for our Muslim community. So if you know someone that is Muslim, please say Ramadan Mubarak. They'll appreciate that. But look at here. There's nothing wrong with the people, even though all races are not treated the same. We are all humans. See, we talk about that. And Dr. Kendi also mentions this too. We are all humans. And an anti-racist baby, remember we teach babies because they're not born racist, can proclaim and shout at the highest rooftop that we're all okay as people, and we are, because we have taken racism out and we're focusing on people's humanity. Okay? Number 5, celebrate all our differences. Oh my gosh, look at all the people playing together, all different races and colors. Look, this is what we talked about earlier. This is the best way to do it. Not do we separate ourselves or we don't have relationships with people, but rather we celebrate your differences and we celebrate other people's differences. Remember, everyone has a culture, okay? So all of us have something to contribute to the society. And you know that everyone else you come in contact with has something to contribute as well. So all people are very important. And so we celebrate those differences. And we do that because an anti-racist baby is taught that they don't see certain groups as better or worse. Remember, we talked about racism is not necessarily about treating someone bad, but it's also about treating someone better. And that an anti-racist baby loves a world that is truly diverse. And so you will hear this word come out quite a bit, and it's called diversity. And what that means is that every person, no matter what color you have, what race you are, no matter what, everyone is coming to the table with a certain level of diversity. And do you know why? Because everyone has a different life experience. So no matter who's in the room, everyone can share a different story of who they are and how they have come to be the person that they are. And what we do in the workplace, in the school, when we play sports, and when we act and work together, we celebrate diversity. Does that mean that we don't all follow the same rules? Well, those rules, we like following the rules. I mean, if there's a rule in school, we still all follow them. Most of those rules are made for everyone to follow. Everyone is treated fairly. But we do celebrate differences, and we celebrate them, and we acknowledge that other people are different. And guess what? You are different too, okay? And your difference needs to be celebrated as well. How about that? Number 6, knock down the stack of cultural blocks. Okay, isn't that important? Okay, so let me give you some context here. And context means I want to explain this to you. So as you see here, the anti-racist baby is knocking down those cultural blocks. What that means is an anti-racist baby now appreciates how groups speak, They appreciate groups and how they dance and creates as they choose. Anti-racist babies welcomes all groups voicing their unique views. Okay? So, if you're from Ireland, you may dance a certain way. If you're part of the German or Dutch culture, you may eat certain foods. If you're part of the African American or the Western African culture, you may eat certain, you may have certain clothing that you wear that is different. Or you may wear your hair differently. That's more significant, especially if you're African American. So many diverse hairstyles. But guess what? We all have different diverse hairstyles. Look around. Look at everyone in your class. Is everyone wearing their hair the same? Are they wearing the same clothes? Unless you have to wear a uniform, you may be. But even with that, everyone has a different style. They have a different aspect to them that can be appreciated. So remember, knock down those stacks of all those cultural blocks that says my culture is better than yours. Because if you look around, everyone is bringing something a little different to you through their personality. So knock those blocks down. Remember, it's all about the humanity. So we're moving on to number 7. Okay, so confess, number 7, confess when being a racist. Okay? Or when being racist. Okay, so we talked a little bit earlier about people making mistakes, and that oftentimes you are transforming what our society is going to look like because you are our future, okay? But remember, for you to be a part of the future, that means that there was a past. And we talk about this because we know that in America, race is a very dominant thought in most people's society. It's a thing that we have to change, but we're all very hopeful that the young people will say, no, we're all Americans. And we need to get beyond the point that we're not considering race when we have friendships, when we're working together, when we're choosing people to be on our teams at school, or when we're choosing partners to eat lunch with. That we're really looking at the content of their character. And so what that means is that you, as an individual, have to ask yourself when you do that, am I being a racist? Remember, any and everyone can be a racist. I can be a racist. You can be a racist. And it happens the minute I make a decision about someone, not because of what they've said or done. It could be because I've made the perception to them or I have perceived them to be different because their race is different than me. Okay, so this is what we do here. Confess when being a racist. And then you check yourself and you say, why am I treating this person differently? And if it's because of the color of their skin, change it. Change the way you do now. So what this says here, and Dr. Kendi says is that nothing disrupts racism more than when we confess the racist ideas that we sometimes express. Remember, we're in a society that focuses very much on racism, but you are going to transform it because you're going to develop your relationships with the right people based on who they are and the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Whether they're the same color as you or the same color or a different color from you. Base your relationships on the content of their character. Is that person a good person or not a good person? Number 8, grow to be an anti-racist. Okay, so see, here are all the people here, and they're working and acting together. This is a process. I'm hoping in your lifetime, as young people, as you transform to live in a society that really judges people based on who they are inside and not on the outside, that we have to continue to grow. But adults are still continuing to grow. And I want you to know that as you get older, that we never learn enough about how to have relationships with people. We never learn enough about how to be comfortable. So, what this tells us here, what Dr. Kendi said, is grow to be an anti racist. It says an anti racist baby that we're trying to bring into this world is always learning. That baby is always learning, and so should you. You never should stop learning. It's always learning, changing, and growing. Anti-racist baby stays curious about all people and isn't all knowing. So what that means is that in our society, and this is something very important, not just about race, it's about everything that you go. Remember, once you finish school, you never stop learning about how to live in this life. Keep this mindset when you deal with people on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I'm sorry. Never stop learning how to deal with people. Okay? So it's important. You are the catapult, you're the conduit. You are the core being that will change the world, because you know that there's always opportunity to learn how to do better with people, how to have a relationship with people, and how to grow because you've learned from having a relationship. Keep growing. That's important. And one more step. And finally, number 9, believe we shall overcome racism. You have to believe it's all the hope that we have. Racism has impacted our country in a way that we can only look forward to doing better. We have to continue to believe and hope in our heart that as we grow up, as you grow up and become an adult in society, that you realize that racism serves no benefit but to exclude people and to make people not a part of society. And so what happens when people are not a part of society? They kind of move on and do their own thing. But what happens to society overall when we have to come together as Americans? It's very difficult to do that because we're not having the relationships with each other. So remember and believe that racism hurts. It makes us not a good society. We can only benefit and do well by understanding everyone in this society. Okay? So if you're an anti-racist baby, an anti-racist baby is filled with the power to transcend, my friend, and doesn't judge a book by its cover, but reads until the end. Isn't that amazing? So, what Dr. Kendi wants you to understand, and what I want you to understand, beautiful book, beautiful read. But do you judge a book by its cover? Or do you open up the book and read to find out what's inside of it? So there's 20 pages here. Couldn't possibly look at this book and tell you what's inside of it. But that's what you do with a human being as well. As you move to be a better person and transform this world and make this world so amazingly anti-racist, I want you to understand and to believe that you are the change that we need to be. So this is Monica Ojo, and I am so glad I had an opportunity to read Anti-Racist Baby by X Kendi. And just keep living, and I want you to be the best you can be. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.